Hi guys, it's Alyssa and welcome back to another video on my channel, The Divine Venus. Today we're going to just have like a little conversation about tarot cards and pendulums and other mystical, magical objects. And the reason why is because a lot of you guys know that I came from a religious background, non-denominational Christian upbringing, basically. We didn't have like a religion, so to speak, but I guess you could say the religion is Christian. It just wasn't in a denomination, which is what non-denominational means. So it's like I wasn't Baptist or Methodist or Catholic or any of that. It was just Bible stuff. So I grew up in a church like that. And now obviously I'm into astrology, tarot, witchy shit. And people have asked me a lot because like attracts like, you guys probably have a lot of you have come from similar backgrounds as me. It's like, how do you get yourself into all of this stuff when you have been told that it's evil? Especially because astrology almost seems to be like a gateway drug. After I left my church, I got into astrology right away. Like it wasn't even an issue. And the reason why is like, I was a Libra. Like you could literally buy a Libra Barbie. So as much as any church or my mom wanted to tell me that astrology was evil, I just couldn't like wrap my head around that energy. You know what I'm saying? It just wasn't it. But tarot and swinging a pendulum or something, any sort of witchcraft, candle magic shit seemed like I shouldn't even get into it. And you know, for a long time I didn't. I actually, up until about 4 years ago, I would have told you I was pretty agnostic. So when you're looking at like all my old videos, I'm 100% an astrologer, but I am completely agnostic. And when I describe what it means for me in my journey of being agnostic, it's a lot of like, I believe that there could be a higher power, but I just don't give a shit. That's just where it was. I just didn't care. I refused to use the word God about anything. I didn't care about that. I was just like, okay, yeah, this is the universe. Who cares about God if there is one? Do I care? No. Like I would have just that. I'm like, I just don't know. I don't know. And then I started to kind of hit this little wall, like a barrier of uneasiness about my life and my future. Kind of like when you just have no faith or belief in anything anymore and everything starts to look dark and you find yourself scrambling a lot. I actually learned numerology because I couldn't get the answers I wanted in astrology when I was going through a dark time during my Saturn return. So I started to study numerology because I was like, well, the numbers don't lie. And when I got into that, I was like, okay, so these are kind of practical. Like, you know, you are life path 8, Alyssa. You are in destiny or expression number 11. So these say things and you really can't get off this path. And it's just very cut and dry. And I liked it. And I was like, okay, yeah, everything is faded, cool. But I wasn't seeing them for like any sort of spiritual force. A lot of people will say like, oh, or astrology becomes a religion or numerology becomes that or whatever. And I found absolutely like zero spirituality in those like at all. Like I just be like upfront and honest, like that seemed to me like the most interesting thing that you could do outside of being a spiritual person. And that's what my life wanted to be. I wanted to drink and smoke and do astrology and yeah. But it was after I had kids and I started to get pretty depressed in my Saturn return and all that shit. I was like, I want to connect to my higher self. I heard people talk about it and I was like, I don't know if I am. I don't know if I'm if I'm in my highest consciousness. I don't know if there's a girl there that wants to talk to me that kind of sees things that I don't. And so I got a pendulum and it took me a little while to connect to it. And of course, like I got a pendulum because I already tried the Jesus thing, you know, like I did my whole life. I learned about it. You don't go back to something that stopped making sense and then try to shove that back up your ass. It didn't make any sense to me to do that. So I was like, let's just go down this rabbit hole. Let's see what's up there. So the first thing I wanted to do is to connect to my higher consciousness or my higher self. I actually don't own a pendulum anymore. And it's not because I'm got rid of all my pendulums like a crazy person who denounced pendulums. It's because I break them all the time and I got so addicted to it. I have a little bit something about me. I'm a little bit OCD, and I'm not just using that term. I used to have a harder time. It's a lot more, it comes out in anxiety, or, you know, when I was in high school, it was pretty bad, like turning light switches on, like washing my hands, having to step on cracks. I'm walking to school. And if I missed a crack in the sidewalk, like I would step on the cracks. If I missed a crack, like I would be thinking about it all day. It would drive me crazy. So that part of my life that's the whole nother story. But I started to realize I was swinging pendulums all the time. Like I would just have it swinging, like wherever I was. I'd be in the grocery store, like there's that pendulum, and they would like swing. Like my pendulum would be like, Mwah. So I did eventually though connect to my pendulum and connect to my higher self, and started to realize over time that I was just already connected. That was the big thing with the pendulum. So this is a necklace, and yeah, but the first time I really connected to it, it wasn't connected, and it kept telling me bad things. I'd be like, am I gonna have like a good life? I would just ask stupid shit like that, and it would be like, no, and my no would be like this, and it was just a way to make a depressed person more depressed. But in my head, I was like, I think I have a lot of blocks. I have blocks. I can't really actually connect, because I knew that my higher self wouldn't be telling me that shit. So I knew that something was kind of in the way. Part of my brain was like, this is the demons that I've been warned about. And I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying that I also knew that the way that I was told about demons has to be different than what they really are. And so sometimes I would talk to whatever negative was coming out and just be like, hey, what's up? And then eventually I connected to my own conscious energy. And I believe that it was just me breaking through my own barriers of self-doubt, like negative self-talk that was coming through unconsciously in a pendulum. And I'm not going to tell you how it works. This is not about that. This is more about going from being like Christian to getting into weird shit. Okay. So that's that. After I connected to my higher self, which I actually did accomplish that on a Mercury retrograde. It was the first time that I enjoyed my Mercury retrograde. And I started to realize after that Mercury retrograde is a great time to do more spiritual things. It seems obvious to me now, like saying it, but at the time I had never realized that, because I was very not spiritual. So I just like never really, like I would just allow the shit to happen, and then I'd clean it up after the Mercury retrograde. But when I was really connecting spiritually to myself, and like I was channeling all this cool stuff about the universe, it was so much fun. I loved it. Opening up myself past my existence, my physical existence, by talking to myself every day at a pendulum, talking to God, higher consciousness, universe, whatever you want to call it. That's your own personal thing, your personal journey. I loved it, and I was able to realize these are the perfect times for me to, you know, work on my astrology book, or work on new ideas and new techniques, or anytime Mercury goes retrograde. I also, even when I quit YouTube, I would always like drop a video on YouTube during a Mercury retrograde, because I was much more like into that, oh, astrology, I have an idea. And I'm like, oh, I wish I was on YouTube still. And then I'd be like, yeah, I kind of am. And I would like put a video out. Anyway, yeah, but I got into tarot after that. And tarot, like the same thing, like how the pendulum was just like being all demonic and shit. So were my tarot cards. Now, I didn't know anything about tarot at all. I just knew that when I got into astrology, like people were doing tarot too for the signs, and I was interested. So I wanted to buy a deck, and my husband's the one who told me, he's like, you can't just buy a deck. Someone has to give it to you. I was like, what, really? Since when? I didn't even realize that was a thing. So he bought me a deck from Amazon, and he got me the Morgan Greer. They look like this. I don't have the box for it anymore because that shit disintegrates right away. So I keep all my ones that don't have boxes anymore, like in Ipsy bags. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 10 Ipsy bags full of boxless tarot cards. But these are my first ones ever. And I wrote on them and stuff. I actually questioned at first, am I allowed to write on these? And I remember a tarot reader told me, they're just cards, Alyssa. And that's the same thing with like a pendulum. It's just a pendulum. It's just a necklace. It's like none of these things hold hold power. But using them creates a doorway to something. And if you believe that you are in your own universe, you could say that that doorway just connects to you and your own angels and demons on your shoulders. Some people might believe that it connects to a doorway outside of your own existence and into something else, and therefore you're inviting that energy in. I used to believe that. Nowadays, I really feel like everything that stopped me from any sort of spiritual awakening outside of the church I grew up in was because the church I grew up in put a lot of blocks and barriers in my head, and I felt like things were evil even when they weren't. I mean, for instance, there's a devil card in here. There's a magician. There's death. All these things. Like here, look at this devil. Here I wrote Capricorn on it. That was something for me. I was like, oh, this is like really opening up the signs that the devil and Capricorn are related, and like money, and like, look at this reverse pentagram. So scary. All these things that I was taught are just evil, are just symbols that I realized are not evil at all. I had some merch in 2018 of the triple goddess with a pentagram in the middle, but the pentagram was reversed, and so nobody wanted to buy it. It was such a thing, but I was like, why, guys? It's like not a big deal. The pentagram reversed is just like more into the earth, more about the feminine, but you know, we have our blockages in our head. So me always just trying to, I don't want blockage. I don't want to feel like there's evil stalking me in this world, or that like something could kill me, or there could be a devil on my back that I couldn't just face and talk to. And that's me, right? Like, so every time, I mean, I was pulling cards the first time I did a spread. I got the death and the devil. I was like, who are you? I was like talking to somebody, and I know because I'm a Pisces rising, so I'm crazy weird. But I was just like, okay, I want to connect with the tarot cards now. And I was like, who are you? And I pulled the devil. And then I said, what do you want from me? And I pulled death. And I was like, and the lights were off because my son was a baby at the time and he was sleeping, and I was on the floor doing this, and just like, okay, this is so scary. Nothing like flickered or moved or anything, but it was just like one of those things where I go, all right, okay, take a deep breath. And then I like would say a prayer and try to reshuffle the cards and whatever. Eventually they started to just work for me. And the one thing that I loved about tarot was when I was going through a hard time and I didn't know what to do next. And I would do this with the pendulum too, but sometimes the pendulum, like I'd be like trying to get an answer from it, and I would be thinking or focusing too much on the answer and not enough on the question. Does that make sense? So with tarot, I would shuffle the deck, and then I would like lay it out like this. And then I'd like pick a card, any card, and I'd pick a card. Here, beautiful, three of swords. And I'm like, this is what I have to do next. I have to, you know, and I wouldn't actually know how to read them, so I would Google it. And I would Google the card, and I'd be like, this is what I'm going to do next. And I did it. I followed it. And the cards themselves, when I would connect to them, I would really just connect to my higher self, God. That's what kind of I started to understand that, again, I did believe in God. People have wondered if I went through like a religious awakening. I would never call myself a religious person whatsoever, but I did reconnect with God through going back through this doorway. And I still carry my new knowledge with me, even though, you know, I carry all of my knowledge with me that I've learned, and I've been able to relate it to things in my past. And actually I do that on my podcast, Embracing Glory, where I try to put everything together because I think it all coexists, it all relates to each other. We just are bound by rules. And so, no, I'm not a religious person in the least. If anything, I accidentally create my own religion all the time and then decide that I don't like it. You know, like, I don't know. I'm my own person, and I always want everybody else to be their own. But I do understand that people really like rules. I just hate them. I hate rules so much. And that's why it was pretty much like, if you tell me not to do something, my immediate reaction is, how can I do that? I do that even with astrology. When I get comments from people like, you can't be a tropical astrologer and put the next chakras in the tropical degrees. And I'm like, well, I'm not putting them in the tropical degrees. I'm putting them in the the sidereal degrees, but I'm moving them to tropical degrees as in like the same energy, you know what I mean? Like 22 degrees away, whatever. I feel like it should be completely obvious, but like my brain is always like, well, you told me I can't, so actually I'm going to try it now and I'm going to see what's going on with that, because I try it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but I hate when people tell me not to do something. So when I'm pulling cards and they're telling me like the devil wants you to die or something, I'm like, nah, let's try this again. Like, it's just me. I don't know. I've gone through some scary things. I've been a little bit scared. I do have fear. But that's always been something that I wanted to break through. And so because I wanted to break through, I did think that maybe this conversation would be good to have with anybody who needed it. If you can't pull cards and they are scaring you, or you're being told that's a bad route to go down, then don't go down it. You don't have to. But if you really feel in your heart, you're like, I want to see where this, you know, you're pulling on the thread. You want to see how far this sweater will unravel. That's my energy, and that's where I went. And I didn't become a devil worshiping person or anything like that. I'm like perfectly sane, and this is who I am. And I use tarot. I have a lot of decks, and I mean, I'll use oracle cards. I use astrology cards. This is the fountain tarot. I really like this tarot. It looks super evil. It's cool. And I have decks. These are just like a couple of them. I get gifts of decks all the time. I love to use them. They're just, at this point, I have a collection, and it's fun for me. The one thing I was going to say, I do know that some readers will say, never read your own cards. So I want to respond to this before someone comments on it, because someone might. I think that's kind of weird, because that means that, one, you can't really learn, because the best way to learn anything is to read for yourself. So I would read for myself. Okay. And it was fine. Two is, so I have to trust somebody outside of myself. And I don't really trust people outside of myself. So if I'm like going to go to another reader and they're going to read for me, I'm pretty much going to be like, I don't think so. You know, like, I don't know. I have, what is that, anti-disestablishmentarianism? Whatever I have. I don't get that. And I also don't think that other people have what they, like, their best intentions for you all the time. I don't think so. And I don't think you can trust that somebody's cleansed themselves enough to take on your energy as far as tarot goes. I do read tarot for people sometimes, because if you want me to read, like, I do. And I mean, I just do, but I think that that's got to be your decision. So I would never say force somebody that they have to go to someone else and they can never read for themselves. I think that's asinine. And also, it's a stupid rule. I hate rules. Rules are meant to be broken. If we're going to progress this world, we get rid of all the rules. So yeah, you don't need rules. And rules are what are keeping people who grew up in religious backgrounds away from tarot. And rules are what gatekeep the entire astrological society, and rules are stupid. Again, one more thing I was going to say at the end of this video for you guys. It was about tarot. I don't remember. I can't edit this video because I'm behind on readings. I know, like, it's funny when I talk about editing videos and shit, because editing takes up like hours. This video took 20 minutes. If I want to edit it and like make it a better video than what you're going to get, it's gonna take so much more time, and I have other things to do today, but I will come back with more edited content after this. But what is the last thing I wanted to tell you? Don't remember. I wish my brain wasn't like that sometimes. I just forget stuff. It probably was meant to be forgotten. You probably weren't supposed to know about it. If you enjoy videos like this where I just kind of talk through something that I've done, let me know in the comments and I can do more of them. But yeah, until then, don't be afraid of tarot. And if you are, you know, either work through it like I did, or it's just not for you. I don't know. That's how I feel about it. And that's what I got. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. Okay, bye.